maybe not directly just from the type of substances that we have today, but it's, again, it's not a very high-hanging fruit. It's when you get it. But this step requires some development that we're trying to find support for. Sorry.
No, it's wonderful. So thanks again. Yeah. All right. Center of today is Rolf Iver Mytting Hagemoen from NOVAP, Norsk Varmepumpeforening, and he will talk about his view on the market and what is the situation and way forward. We talked about politics, and we have a guy here that has worked with politics or like towards politicians for a while. And, so please.
First, I have to check, Jørn, are you still there? Or have you checked out? Oh, because I'm going to mention him later, so he's prepared. Okay, my name is Rolf Iver Hagemoen. I represent the Norwegian Heat Pump Association. That is like an association representing the whole heat pump industry, from small heat pumps in households to heat pumps you have in commercial buildings, industry, heat pump, no, in district heating, the whole value chain. So what I will show you, it was originally in Norwegian, and since there were non-Norwegians attending, I have prepared to say something about the Norwegian market. But since we already are over schedule, I was supposed to be finished now for 17 minutes ago. I will try to shorten it down. So I have lots of slides. Some of the slides you can just look at later. So I will go really fast through some of those slides. In short, this is Norwegian. Now this is not Norwegian, this is Norway. And when I have presentations from Europeans, I often have to explain how big difference there is between the different areas of Norway, because many think it's really, really cold all over Norway. And as you know, as along the coastline in the south, there are different climate conditions where what you will find in the eastern part of Norway, in the inland, or in some parts in the north. So some places have mild climate and some have really cold climates. And when it comes to geothermal heat pumps, they are dominating in several parts of Finland and in the northern from the mid part of Sweden and further north, and in the south it's air to water that is dominating, as I will show in the statistics later. Air to water heat pumps are growing rapidly all over Europe, so geothermal heat pumps are actually quite a small market, and you will see the same in the statistics too, that is air to air heat pumps that are dominating for a reason I will explain. But the potential for geothermal heat pumps is really still big. So as I show many that we have, because there are lots of foreigners that have been told all over Europe that heat pumps can only be used in low temperature buildings. No, not in where you have energy efficient new buildings with low temperature heating systems. But of course, you can use it in all kind of new and old buildings, and that is told from the European Heat Pump Association quite often when I talk to politicians in Europe, that we have hundreds of thousands, actually several millions of heat pumps in the Scandinavian countries that work in cold industries. And this is Brynseng ungdomsskole, that is like 5 years old, that has a heat pump and solar panels on the other side on the walls. So as you know, we have heat pumps everywhere. This is the geothermal heat pumps. I will say something about the success factor, because we have, together with Sweden and Finland, the highest penetration of heat pumps per capita. The largest heat pump countries are for the moment France and Italy, but now Germany is growing real fast. Poland has a growth over 100%. So Poland is probably one of the fastest growing countries in the world, so in Europe and also in the world. So in many European countries all over the world, gas or fossil fuels are a main heating source. But we have a strong electric grid. Of course, it has to be strengthened, and that is in the media all the time, that we don't have strong enough grid for that will come, but still we have one of the strongest electric grid distribution system all over Europe. The price versus gas ratio is really important, but now for practical reason in households, gas is banned. You still have them in some buildings at the west coast, but it's banned in all new buildings, and oil for heating is fossil oil for heating is banned in all buildings. We have increased CO2 taxes rapidly. So you see several European countries now actually are copying what we have done in Scandinavia. So now banning of fossil fuels will spread all over Europe. Country after country now has said that they will ban fossil fuels. In England, they have said that heat pumps might be mandatory in new buildings. Like, things are happening. Also, one thing that is important is that we have high quality heat pumps for cold climates. As Jørn Stene said, that unfortunately, especially in commercial buildings, there have been too many cheap heat pumps not meant for heating, that like chillers that are sold as heat pumps. And in Europe, you have areas where they have milder climate, where they don't need the same heat pumps that we have here. But one of the success factors is that we have lots of buildings with high quality heat pumps. And also we have a large network of skilled installers throughout the country. And we have good schools training for installers, planners, plumbers, and entrepreneurs. But there are also, that wasn't actually, okay, I did something wrong, because here it was meant to be a slide that says that the challenges. And the challenges is that most buildings in Norway are built for direct electric heating. They don't have hydronic heating. So there is, in many countries, there big potential for the geothermal heat pumps, where they have oil or gas for heating, and then they can install a geothermal heat pump. But in buildings where you have direct electric heating, then you have to rebuild the building for waterborne or hydronic heating systems. That happens, but not as much as it should. And I said that we have a large network of skilled installers, but one of the biggest challenges is there are not too many of them. There are too many engineers, like Jørn said that he didn't talk down his colleagues. But there are lots of engineers all the country that are designing heating systems without knowing how to design a heating system. And lots of engineers, they never go out to building after. So year after year after year, they are designing heating system that doesn't work. It could work for electric boilers or oil boilers or gas boilers, because up to now nobody had cared about the energy use. So if it was cold in a part of the building, they just increased the temperature. And if it was too warm in another part of the building, they just open the windows. But now with heat pumps, they're much more focused on energy efficient systems and with more metering, and then you actually need a better system. We also have too many plumbers that say they are specialized, but they are not. Many of them have never been to any training courses at all. When you're educated from their 16 to 20, when you become a plumber, you don't learn much about heat pumps. Many think that heat pumps are just like a black box you connect to the heating system. So there's too many systems that doesn't work as it should, and that is a challenge, and we're working on that. And I'm looking at Nils, because you have lots of colleagues of drillers. They just do what they're told by some of the plumbers. I know you and your colleagues, you always ask extra questions. Have you actually done calculations? And many of them haven't. So of course we need more drillers also that have a higher competence. As we could see that some of the biggest companies, they are actually, that have most of drillings, they are skilled companies. But you have colleagues that could improve their skills. So now we'll go through really fast, but heat pumps are becoming a larger and larger part of the Norwegian energy system. And also use of fossil fuel for heating is nearly replaced. So as you can see in green, that's its use of electricity. So lots of industrial processes are by electricity. also with heat pumps in households. More than 50% of every single family houses or detached houses have a heat pump. So more and more of the Norwegian society are electrified, and that makes it easier also to use heat pumps. The downside for many years has been the low electricity prices, so nobody has really cared. So because of the really, really high prices we have now, more and more people are buying heat pumps. And we have 98% of our use of electricity is 98%, or the production we have in Norway is 98% renewable. That is one of the reasons why energy efficiency haven't had the same focus, because lots of politicians say we have clean energy, we have more than enough electricity. Up till October 2021, it was said that they had more than enough electricity, and then Statnett came with this report saying that we actually will, in southern part of Norway, we have probably have to import to be a net balance. And now everybody's talking about new production, energy efficiency is mentioned now and then, but like now it's nuclear and offshore wind and new technology. We will see more offshore wind, but not within the next 5 years, after 2030 something. And will we see as many windmills as they claim? We'll see. The most cost efficiency is online wind that has a really low production cost, but it's only 2 municipalities in Norway that have said that they are open for building windmills, and that is 2 small municipalities after Varanger area up in the north. So for those that are not Norwegian, but if all of you live in Norway, you probably know that electric heating is common, and most homes have a fireplace. But we have heat pumps in both new and old buildings. We have high quality heat pumps, but since most buildings have direct electric heating, it's air-to-air heat pumps that are dominating. And the geothermal heat pumps, even if the payback time might be 10 years, many claim it's too long. And if it's 15 years or if it's 20 years, it's too long. And what they quite often do on their calculation is that they include the boreholes. And we don't know how long the boreholes will last. Is it 60 years? Is it 100 years? Or is it 200 years? It's many, as long as you don't have fracking or something, they will last really, really long. But so they shouldn't be like included in the calculations often when you're talking about a payback time of 15 years. Because the geothermal heat pumps, normally they last plus minus 20 years, lots of them up to 30 years. And when you have to replace the heat pump, the only thing you replace is the heat pump. The rest of the system is there. But I just have to show you that the reason I show you this is that too often among many of you and others, we hear this number from Aslak Biak and others that there's a big potential for the geothermal or grunnvarme. And the theoretical potential is really, really good, big, but if you look at the realistic or the economic potential, then you have to include how many of these buildings have hydronic systems. But what I will show now is the potential of buildings, but you also have a big potential in district heating. You will see more and more heat pumps in district heating. There's a really big growth in, for instance, Denmark, with more and more really, really big industrial heat pumps with the geothermal or with the boreholes. But when we talk to media, when media contact us, they want to learn about heat pumps. All they ask about is the air-to-air heat pumps, because that is what they have heard of. Many of them haven't heard about geothermal heat pumps. I talked to NRK today that will make 2-3 articles probably of something we discussed today. And I have to explain what a geothermal heat pump was. So not many many people are not aware. And people also, some often they could say, building owners say, no, we don't have a heat pump. We have bergvarme. Thinking that they just, and some of the owners of the building, they actually don't know that it's a heat pump that is heating up the building. Like they get from -2 to maybe 10 degrees up. Sometimes it's like a slurry, like really cold in the end of the season, and that is not heating. That is the energy source. It's something different. But in Sweden, everybody knows about geothermal heat pumps. So yeah, the different kind of air-to-air heat pumps. The heat pump market in cabins in mountains are growing. But what we see in the large cabins, they are quite often now built with geothermal heat pumps, like if they are 150 or 20 square meters or bigger. And yeah, it's a problem seen in mountains. There are some really, really big mountain cabins out there. So there are lots of different heat pumps. And you have drilling in multifamily houses, and you have them in single-family houses. And this is where you had oil boiler replaced by a heat pump. This is Manglerudjordet, one of the biggest energy wells for multifamily buildings in Norway, but there are lots of them all over Oslo. Nils, do you have some energy well parks bigger for multifamily houses in some of the other big cities, or is it also?
There's other commercial products, not in this kind of.
No, so other kind of buildings normally. And just to show that when we are talking about potential, in some cities you also have a potential from heat pumps from sea. But actually lots of places where you have buildings close to the sea, they still prefer geothermal heat pumps. So there are some upsides with geothermal heat pumps compared to sea. Like if you use seawater, you need to know what to do. You have ice and other things that you have to consider. But this building has, this is powerhouse where NOVAP, the head office of NOVAP, and BE is the nearest neighbor. And ammonia heat pump is this little thing. It's heating those two houses, not those two buildings. And the energy production from that heat pump is much larger than the solar panels on the roof. But what gets all the attention in media is those solar panels. Of course, they're important, but nobody knows about the heat pumps because they are down in the cellar. And also district heating, there are more and more heat pumps in district heating, and many are not aware of that. For instance, Oslo Varmepumpeforening at Bærum, everything is by heat pumps. And now I will speed up. As you probably know, fossil oil is, yeah?
Oslofjord, do they use the sewer system as energy, or?
No, mostly it's, the biggest one is from Fornebulandet. They have seawater heat pumps.
Okay.
And also they have in Sandvika, and they use some bio-oil as backup. But I'm not sure if they have sewer also. They might. The biggest heat pump in Norway is under Vigelandsparken. That is owned by Hafslund Oslo Celsio. So that is by sewer. And you also have in Stavanger, you have some places where you use sewer.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Oslofjord Varme, they have like the big district heating area that is Fornebu and Bærum, but then also they have some single satellite systems around in Oslo that is owned by them, Alnafossen and and Posten. Yeah, okay. Fossil heating is banned now in Norway, and it will be introduced in more and more countries in Europe. The main reason why we have increased in sales of heat pumps in Norway is because of the high energy prices. So I will show you the statistics now in some seconds. So 2022 was the biggest or the best year ever. Really big growth in air-to-air. Nice growth in air-to-water and brine-to-water, but as I will show you, it's nothing compared to Sweden and Finland. The market is so small. What we see that even if some commercial actors have started investing in heat pumps, like training centers and offices and whatever, but most actors when it comes to commercial buildings. They haven't done anything the last year. They don't know what to do because the focus on energy efficiency haven't been there for many years. When I show this to European partners, they laugh when they look at like the prices that are down in the prices you have down here. Like in the rest of Europe, the prices are up here. So now we have a taste of what the Europeans are paying for electricity. So that is one of many reasons why the focus on energy efficiency have been, there have been more focus on that in many other countries. For instance, we don't have any goal for energy efficiency in Norway. We had a political goal that we have to reduce the use of energy in buildings by 10 terawatt hours from 2015 to 2030. They haven't done nothing with the oil and energy department. They have tried year after year to say that now we have fulfilled these obligations. And at the state budget now in December, when it was agreed on, that was removed. So now it's checked out. So now we have to lift up that end. Yeah. So we don't have any goals. We haven't introduced the latest energy performance and building directive. We haven't included the energy efficiency directive for EU. So every country in Europe, they have goals for reducing energy, but not Norway. So I will speed up now. So here you see the statistics for 2021 from Europe. The statistics will be available in a month or two for 2022, but I have numbers from some countries. But as you see, even in Europe, it's air to air and air to water that is dominating. You can see here, ground source heat pumps are not growing that fast. It's actually those based on air as energy source that are growing. And the reason is that in many European countries, they are not allowed to drill for many reasons. There might be difficulties some places, and some places they are just really conservative. And also in many countries, they use groundwater for drinking, and they are so concerned about leakages from energy from wells. And also that the air to water heat pumps are cheaper than geothermal heat pumps. So price is also we are among the top sellers, but if you look at per household, it's Norway, but for next year, it probably will be Finland because they sell much more heat pumps than us now. This is statistics from yesterday from Sweden. So look at those numbers now. Geothermal heat pumps, that is brine to water, like nearly all of them are geothermal heat pumps. They sell yearly between 25, now it was close to 27,000 geothermal heat pumps sold. And that statistics is underrepresented because there are still some big players that don't use statistics in Sweden. So the sales numbers are even higher than this. And this is graph from 2021, but as you see under in Finland, last year they sold 12,000 geothermal heat pumps. And that market is growing. As you can see, it grew by 20%. The total market in Finland, they had a growth of 50%, last year. And here you can see Norway, totally dominated by air-to-air heat pumps when it comes to, this is number of installations or number of units that are sold, not energy. Of course, if we have statistics on the energy that are delivered, you see that the big heat pumps, they have a bigger share than of the energy mix. But here you can see like 156,000 heat pumps in total. And here you see the total numbers of air to water and brine to water. So the blue is brine to water, and 95% or we don't know how many, but nearly all of them are ground source heat pumps. So 3,500 heat pumps sold last year. Finland, that is the same size, 12,000. Sweden, 27,000, nearly 30,000. So when we are talking about potential, there's a large potential in Norway if we have more companies specializing on geothermal heat pumps. But then we have this problem that we don't have building codes similar to the rest of Europe. In all of Europe, they don't use the boundary for calculations. In Norway, it's only the boundary. How much does the building use? Not how much energy do you buy. So if you invest in a heat pump or solar panels, you don't get any incentive from the calculations. So those who choose heat pumps in new buildings, they do it. There's not because of the building codes. It's because of BREEAM. They are going to have it themselves. They have demanding tenders, etc. So I will skip this, but like there's, in short, they have higher energy prices and more hydronic heating in our neighbor countries, and that is the reason why you see more air-to-water and brine-to-water heat pumps in our neighbor countries. And here you see the total numbers we have. It's quite similar to what Kirsti showed. So Kirsti's statistics is based on other sources, on boreholes, but these are our statistics is based on all the importers in Norway. They send to Prognosesenteret every quarter their sale numbers. So for 2 or 3 times a day, you have been talking about statistics. So these statistics goes to Enova, NVE, and then to Statistics Norway. So the statistics they use from heat pump is from here. But still, there are some actors that don't give us their sale numbers for geothermal heat pumps, especially the big ones that you find in industry and the commercial buildings. So we actually have higher sale numbers. So and now, like, there's still too many politicians that don't know how much renewable energy we get from heat pumps. This is the 2021 numbers, not the 2022. So now we have more than 11 terawatt hours with heat from heat pumps. That is the same number as the total energy production from windmills in Norway. And you can see how much attention windmills gets, and nobody talks about the heat pumps or the potential for more heat pumps. So we have different kinds of statistics showing the potential in different kind of buildings. And then at last, we have conducted analysis from Multiconsult and CGER looking at potential for heat pumps in the old buildings and new buildings. And then last year, SINTEF made a report also looking at the potential. So the potential for heat pumps in buildings, the realistic potential within 2030 is around 11 terawatts or 15 terawatts. But then in addition, you will have industrial processes, and you might have football fields and district heating. So at last, what I would say that one thing is politics. We are working a lot on politics, but we do a lot of training. And together with Jørn, that had a presentation now, we are developing new training courses for engineers on planning bigger systems and for plumbers. And we are going to have courses on energy calculations for energy wells. And also we are going together with Jørn, because he didn't mention that, we're working on making new guidelines for owners of commercial buildings also. So their tenders are better than what they have today. So
when will these courses be available?
As soon as possible, but they are working with them now, so it's probably from after summer. Because we had some courses that we had some years, but they are being revised now, so we are not having them before they are ready. Okay, so I will stop there.
Any questions, comments? Yes, Julia.
And I sorry, I didn't use 15 minutes.
No,
I used much more than that. Yeah.
Just a comment, it's very interesting to see that you have the same challenges as, for example, we in Austria regarding the training.
Yeah.
Because what is the the first thing a plumber learns in Austria when he starts his education is how to install an oil tank in a house to heat the housing.
I'm acting in the European Heat Pump Association, and 2023 is the year of skills. So all of Europe now is focused on skills, but politicians are just talking about that in general. But what we see is what you said. All of Europe, for instance, plumbers, they don't get the right training when they go to school, and they don't understand heat pumps. So even if Austria and Switzerland, they are front runners on heat pumps, even when you have challenges, you will see what kind of challenges you have in other countries.
And you probably need to start even earlier so that people already entering the level of becoming a skilled worker question these things right, in the training.
So,
One.
yeah,
quick question.
please.
Why brine to water?
What?
Why? What's the brine for in a brine to water heat pump? Is it-
Why it's not called why it's not called water to water? Is that what you mean? Why it's
I
called
mean,
brine to water?
clearly it's water on one side, brine on the other, but why brine?
No, it's just a name. Like when it comes to statistics, some say water to water because or brine to water, but that is actually the fluid that you use
Yeah,
when you heat from the energy source.
yeah,
So
they add the brine to the water to enable the well to function in negative minus.
Yeah,
degrees.
it's an antifreeze, so instead of using an alcohol. But
Yeah, you have some environmental.
Yeah.
Then I
requirements.
understand what you ask about. Yeah. There is.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. So sorry. Yeah. They use before it's more common to use glycol.
Yeah,
And then different kind of alcohols and then different kind of additives and you know all about that, Nils, that how are environmental friendly are the different fluids. Like you are trying to find out new,
and also
because you don't want leakages, and for many systems you don't have any leakages, but if you have leakages, then what? So there's lots of focus on what kind of fluid you can use.
yeah, nothing you can drink.
Yeah.
Oh, but whiskey would be just very environmental.
Last question before we call it a day, and
Just a reflection, but
reflection
I
from.
think the competence thing is very important. A friend of mine installed a big system recently. The heat exchanges was installed by the plumber the wrong way. So he hadn't found out. So I think it's a good point.
Well, you can have big buildings where you have used the big plumbing companies and nothing works and you can't understand it. They have to go through everything and then you have valves that is the wrong way and all that. Even if the drawings, everything is right, you have to go and look. Oh, okay, it's there. So the people that are skilled, they like Jørn, they know exactly what to look for because it's the same things that that the plumbers sometimes miss. Yeah.
Okay, so with this, I think we call it a day. It's been really, I've learned a lot. We've spent all the time, but people have had the chance to ask questions, and that was also valuable. But for now, we stop the webinar. So thanks a lot for those who have joined us via Zoom, and I think that we just need some time to talk to each other. I think that's most useful, honestly. So with that, I say thanks. And hvordan var det å